Every yard, every hit, every second. It's earned out here. This game demands more than just skill. It demands fuel. The right fuel. Because out here, it's not just about how hard you work. It's about how long you keep going. When the game gets real, drink bottle still.
Connor, I hope you liked offense because this weekend, 50 was the magic number. And we got 50 from Queens, 50 from Laurier, and 50 from Guelph, and 50 from McMaster. Connor, 4 of 5 OUA games had the winning team scoring 50 points.
Certainly was an offensive day. Let's start with this Queens York game because these Golden Gales put up 722 total yards of offense in this game. It was really Gales start to finish in this one. They were all over the ball game. Alex Freakin, fantastic day. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns. Didn't have to do too much other than get the ball to Nathan Falcone. 260, almost 60 yards for 3 touchdowns, Wade. What a day from that duo.
Yeah, Connor, and two of those big touchdowns for Alex Freakin, the Russell Weir and one of Nathan Falcone's 3 touchdowns, were just jailbreak screens. And we've talked each week about York and this pressure defense and how they really seem to catch teams off guard despite really doing the same thing schematically, right? And maybe there's subtle tweaks in who's blitzing or how they're getting there, but the main idea is all out pressure a lot of the time. And for Queens, they had a really good game plan of, hey, we're just going to screen them to death. And if you want to blitz us, we're going to go to the perimeter. If you want to blitz us, we're going to get linemen that are just letting you through and then taking advantage of that in behind. And, for Vreekin and co to really trust the offensive vision and trust, the team vision. And I know Coach Schneider wasn't on the sidelines, but he's involved in the planning throughout the week. And I think for them to go out and trust the program, the coaching staff, the vision that they had for countering this high pressure system of the York Lions really showed. And whether that was Russell Weir's big touchdown or Falcone's 3 big deep balls or Cesari, he had another 60-yarder that he capped off again this week, and they ran the ball at a good clip despite not having the high volume. But Connor, this was ultimate trust in the scheme and the system, and guys making spectacular plays out of that.
Yeah, it certainly was. And just quickly before we move on this game here, I thought defensive side of the ball, the veteran leaders from in the DB group for Queens had a really big day. Ash Miller Melanson has a pick. Keegan Vanek has a pick. I just thought all around Queens looked really, really solid in this game. But we have some other games to get
Hold
to.
on. Before we move on,
Before
Connor,
we move on,
you cannot kudos the Queens defensive backs without kudosing the man who made that life living hell for Keegan Hall, and that's OJ Oliver Jackson. Man, 4 sacks on the
yeah,
day. It felt like Queens up front was just getting after York, and OJ's not the biggest defensive end compared to like a Silas Hubert from last year. But Connor, if you have an average size offensive line, let alone a small one, OJ is gonna make your game a living nightmare because he is so fast, he's so explosive, and the only way to really kind of limit him is to throw a 350-pound CFL prospect Eric Anderson at him like Western did in week 1. So I felt like he was the reason, and tip pass gets picked off. The DBs did have a really good day, but when that defensive front is getting home as much as they were, and OJ gets the 4 sacks and the rest of them get involved with pressures, through and through, phenomenal day for Queens. They pick up their first home win of the year.
yeah, it really was. Now we're gonna move on. Now we're allowed to move on. You're right. That was a little biased on my end. Only talking about the DBs when they had, some guys up front making noise. But Wade, in the previews and last week we talked about, how these games are coming down to playoff seedings and wins are getting all that more important. Well, if you look at the standings now, we have 2 and 3 teams, 3 teams scrapping and clawing for playoff spots. So let's go to one that was really important for Guelph on this day as they get a 55-28 win over the Carleton Ravens, starting that one off with a pick 6 in the nation's capital.
Yeah, and it felt like it was going to be a really good game during the first quarter. And even when, Carleton gets out to the two-score lead, it's really tight in the middle of the second quarter. And I was watching this one going, gosh, this feels like every other Guelph game we've seen this year, where they're making splash plays and they're having impact players do their kind of impact player thing, like Jelani Green with not one, not two, but three, no, four Gianni Green interceptions on the day. Like there was players making standout plays, and McCray with the rushing touchdowns. Willem Arsenault gets involved offensively. The running back tandem starts to pop off, but it felt like we've seen this story from Guelph where they're playing really good football, but a team's hanging around. And does that team get involved? Do they get a touchdown late? Did they make it close? And then all hell broke loose in the second half, and it was just touchdown, 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 touchdown. Out we go. And by the time the fourth quarter's around, you're like, oh my God, this is a 25-point game plus.
Yeah, well, and Wade, I think we can attribute that to, we were talking about a great pass rush, great front seven, with Queens in that game being able to open things up in the back end for their DBs to go make plays. Well, I think a lot of that is the same for Guelph in this one. Their defense played really, really well. I thought 4 sacks on the day, 4 interceptions. They had a forced fumble and a fumble recovery in this one as well. So I really thought it was their defense stepping up and making Tristan Lefebvre uncomfortable in the pocket, forcing him to throw those 4 interceptions. So defensively, I thought it was the efforts on that side of the ball that really allowed this game to break wide open in the second half.
Yeah, crazy stat. Tristan Lefebvre has 6 incompletions, 4 of them go for picks. I mean, he had a good day considering the amount of pressure. They couldn't really get the run game going. But if Guelph can play this kind of style defensively where they're limiting teams in the run game, it really plays to their strength, right? We got Hope and Masuka. Like they have so many DBs that they can throw at a solution and at a problem that they just need to be able to control that first down and put you in those passing situations where their playmakers can shine. And we saw that with the 4 interceptions, but I thought Alex Pope had a really good game. He was pretty much locked in physically, I guess, with Tristan Reddy. They were jawing at each other, hard hitting. So I thought that he had a really strong game. Didn't get the 4 interceptions, but they played a really good game as a group of DBs. And if they can limit you in the run game, that's where Guelph's defense is going to succeed.
I certainly think so. I certainly think so. And games are going to get all the more important for these Guelph Griffins. We will talk about it and tee it up later this week, but they have an important home game coming up against the Queens Gales later this week. But Wade, we are still doing the recap episode. Let's go to the far end of the 401. Brady Lidster tie an OUA record, set the Windsor Lancers record. When you are responsible for 20 points in a 32-0 win, oh my, are you the MVP of this game or what?
Brady Lidster is the MVP of Windsor football this year, Connor,
I
and I
certainly
know
think
that
so. Yeah.
it's a kicker, and we're seeing this Nick Domovsky offense start to stretch the field, and running back by committee, nobody's really popping off, but they all have these cool plays like Wavy Mambo's spin move last week, or you know Lidster is the MVP. This offense has struggled to turn threes into sevens. And every time it feels like they get over midfield, something tightens up. Maybe it's the defenses they're playing, but something tightens up within this offense. They stall out. Brady Lidster walks on the field and they come away with points where, they didn't really succeed in their goal of pushing it and advancing, but Brady Lidster certainly is looking to get the all OUA nod. I think at this point he's the all Canadian kicker for the first team All Canadians. Connor, he is the team MVP by a mile, and they controlled the game with a rookie quarterback on the other side and Emmett Ward. No real run game or attempted run game from the Waterloo Warriors. It was all on a freshman's shoulders. Windsor just said, "Yeah, we're good kicking field goals all day." They did. Litzer's the man that, he's super accurate, right? I don't think this guy ever misses, but no, they didn't need to convert. You'd like to see them convert. It probably would have hit the 50 points had they done that. But Brady Lidster, another outstanding day.
Just automatic. automatic for him. And he dropped, I don't want to, like, we're talking about the field goals, but he dropped 3 punts inside the 22. So this guy has a leg. You're right. You're right. He is, for my money right now, he's got to be in consideration for one of those all Canadian spots. But defensively, too, Wade, I thought we mentioned, Emmett Ward had a less than desirable day, but I thought that was, again, credit to good defenses this week, allowing their teams to go make plays in this one. And Windsor made Emmett Ward very uncomfortable. Another 4-sack defensive performance this week from Windsor. Chalked that up with a bunch of other teams that had sacks, big sack days this week. But they had 5 pass breakups. They had an interception, 2 interceptions, excuse me. Again, we are just seeing this week when your front 7 is aggressive, is making things uncomfortable for quarterbacks. DBs get to go make plays, and that's a lot of fun when you're flying around on the back end, man. I thought they had a really, really solid defensive day.
Absolutely. Connor, we got 2 more games to talk about, 2 more 50 pieces. We're going to the homecoming one in the Western Mustangs. Kind of close after one quarter. Felt like, what's Western doing? They were playing the field position battle. They weren't really pushing it that much offensively. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose as they just open up the floodgates in the second quarter. We talked about, it's going to be Ethan Dolby, Jack Kelly, the DK special. Watch out
But
for a
wait,
couple Evan the Hillock throws over the top. But man,
but
Jerome
wait,
Rancor.
yes, Jerome Rancor, 3
we,
touchdown day.
we've got to talk about Jerome Rancor, man. He is to me, if you're to take Greg Marshall's career and say you're gonna have a quarterback that wants to run people over and run through someone's face, and he's just gonna be the lifeline. He'll block for you. He'll go in and play quarterback if he's needed to. But man, he likes to run the football. Do you think Greg Marshall would be like, nah, I don't really want it? Like this is everything Western football is, right? We are going to be bigger than you. We're going to be stronger than you. We're going to outblock you, and we're going to rush the darn football. Connor, they hit 300 yards rushing between Dolby and Rancor, the backup quarterback.
Dude, you could see the smile on his face too as he was going for that long run up the sideline, man. That was he was having a lot of fun that day, and Western looked like they were having a lot of fun that day. You're right. The kind of lagged out of the gate there, but once things got going, Wade, look out. It was all Western Mustangs in this game. I don't know. That Rancourt performance though was just so fun to watch. It was something else.
I feel bad that we never talk about him being a big part of the offense, but Evan Hillock again, we get a couple of those deep drops into the bucket. I think
Yeah.
Mazzari's touchdown. One of them was just like a heat play action, rip it down the seam. Dasani McIntosh got another one. Like Connor, he makes a couple of these throws and then it backs off the defense, and then all of a sudden Dolby just starts dicing it apart. Average 10 yards a carry going against McMaster. Conversely, McMaster, no run game again. Thalman forced to throw 30 times. Not very productive of a system for the Marauders, but when you're just getting hammered in that second quarter, it's tough to rebound.
It certainly is. And Western is as Western does. It certainly doesn't look like they are going anywhere. We got another 50 spot, almost a 60 spot this weekend from the Laurier Golden Hawks, talking about teams that like to run the rock. My goodness, Wade. Tayshaun Jackson, 90 yards and a touchdown. Bunch of other guys with some carries in this one. Cal Wither getting into the end zone on this one. But Wade, highlighting this one for me, we're talking about Cal Wither. Let's talk about what he did with his arm. 384 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, missed just 7 passes in 34 attempts on this one. What a day from the new Laurier Golden Hawks quarterback.
Yeah, and it felt like Coach Faulds and company have seen this style of defense before from their Battle of Waterloo days with DA, being with the Warriors. But Connor, Cal Wither, we've talked all season about him just playing like solid football. Today he was a star, and this weekend he was the star. It's the first time they don't have a back over 100 yards since I don't know when, but they get the ball rolling. They get this offense firing away, and it's not just yak yards, right? Like Ethan Jordan, so many of his touchdowns come where he's catching a flat or an over and he takes it the extra 40 yards, or a slant and he goes 60. He didn't have that this game. There was a lot of just like pitch, catch, tackle, pitch, catch, tackle. And point A to point B, let's get the ball into the end zone. But no, I thought Laurier just dominated start to finish in this one. Field position. Dawson Hodge was a weapon with his kicking as usual. So
Yeah.
big time, big time, big time win for Laurier as they're just kind of in cruise control right now.
Yeah, no, they certainly are. And just before we do wrap this one up, shout out to Ethan Jordan too here in this game. He becomes the all-time receptions leader for the Laurier Golden Hawks this week. So he's having it just feels like, as great as he has been this season, 163 yards on eight receptions and a touchdown this week. He's just been so quiet from him this year. Like it's just like, oh yeah, Ethan Jordan goes for eight catches and 100+ yards and a touchdown. Like it just feels like that's the norm, and it's just the conversation of that becoming the norm is a little bit ridiculous to me, because these are insane stat lines that he's putting up that we're just expecting to happen now.
Yeah, it certainly is. And on the other side, Connor, Chris Joseph for Toronto, single season reception record holder with a couple games left to play. So both receivers ultra talented, but you're right. We've just become accustomed to these crazy stat lines from Ethan Jordan and the other guys like Laomi, Ryan Hughes, Jace, Jackson Stebbings, like they all are really good receivers in their own right. And it's like we don't pay them any attention because it's the same thing they've done for the last 3 seasons, where it's just, high explosive plays, big catches in big moments, big touchdowns. It's just what they do with Laurier. And it's become very unstoppable. And we'll see if a team can stop it before we get to the end of the OUA season.
Certainly will, Wade. But we have an exciting week of football coming up. It's probably my favorite week in the OUA, if not one of my favorite weeks in the OUA. It is Panda Week. We will preview that coming up later this week. Of course, be sure to drink your BioSteel. Stay hydrated. Get ready. You're going to need to be hydrated for this Panda game because it is always electric. Wears you out by the end of the game.